for today. It is a terrific Tuesday edition. This is a live broadcast. It is Tuesday, March 17th, 2015. I'm Doug Hagmann, along with my son Joe Hagmann. Together we are the Hagmann Hagmann Report. Folks, you're about to hear just a great program tonight. Hour number one, we're going to be talking all about current events and what's really important, including but not limited to what's going on in the Middle East, the Israeli elections in particular. Second hour, Mr. Stan Deyo will be joining us, and your calls, and you can weigh in on the third hour. So this is all good stuff tonight, folks. Our home base on the internet for new listeners is hagmannandhagmann.com. That's hagmannandhagmann.com. Please bookmark that site. We are also on social networking sites, collectively and individually as well. And we broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern. And we're also simulcast by the Christians United Broadcasting Network. There you can tune us in at the Hagmann and the Hagmann Report.com, separate from hagmannandhagmann.com. Just so happy we're just very ecstatic to be able to be a part of Nature Box, at least talk about them. Portions of tonight's broadcast are sponsored by Nature Box. Nature Box ships great tasting, wholesome snacks right to your front door, back door, side door. You can forget about the vending machine, forget about the snack aisles, start snacking much smarter with wholesome, delicious treats. They've got so many, and they're all great. You can support this broadcast by ordering a free NatureBox sampler box at naturebox.com/CFP radio, or just go to hagmannandhagmann.com, scroll all the way down, and on the left there you'll see a large icon for NatureBox. Click on that. It'll take you to our own little world there. Anyway, you heard me right. Free NatureBox snacks are found at naturebox.com/CFP radio. Joe, it's great. Today we got so much to talk about. Man, well, it looks like Netanyahu pulled it off through a squeaker, I think, perhaps, in Israel.
That's what some websites are reporting. On the front of Drudge, you have the headline.
Do you think do you think he did, or are we looking at potentially?
From what I read, we won't get results until tomorrow or Thursday officially.
Okay,
but I have no idea. He's declared a victory and given a speech, as we talked about earlier, and I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, what happens. There was a high voter turnout, and exit polls have showed that Netanyahu has won the election, or is ahead in the polls at least. So we will see here within the next few days, though it looks from what he's doing and the political parties in Israel is that he won, apparently, is what he's...
And it's no thanks, obviously, to the Obama administration or the renegade in chief. It's not really an administration. I hesitate to call it that. Folks, don't forget, back in January, the news broke that the U.S. State Department-funded group targeted Benjamin Netanyahu for defeat. Now think about this. The renegade-in-chief Barack Hussein Obama, his Department of State, funded a group that was helping the Israeli leftist group to oust Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the group that was sent by Obama, and I was doing some research on this here over the last couple of days, One Voice International. They received 2 separate grants from the State Department in 2014. And they have, on their website, on their very own website, they publicly announced that they partner with the State Department. They teamed up with a group called V15, V for voice, we'll say, 15. And that is a decidedly leftist Israeli group. It's interesting how they set this up, because V15 basically said anybody but Netanyahu, replace the government. But they were very cagey about it. They didn't name that. They did not name anyone that they were behind. Well, when you start digging, and this is something that troubles me greatly. You start digging into, for example, One Voice International. What is this group? And who are these people that are sent via funding by the State Department into Israel? Well, you find a guy by the name of Jeremy Bird. He's the national field director was the national field director for Obama's 2012 campaign. He's also a co-founder of 270 or 270 Strategies. And he's working with, and has been working with, the group V15. The Daily Caller did a report back in January of this year where they interviewed Linda Tran, Tran, the co-founder of 270 Strategies. She acknowledged that Bird and her are working with One Voice, and that Bird is just extremely anti-Netanyahu. And, there was some stuff done on social media, social networking sites, including Twitter. I'm not going to get into it, but if you look at Bird's tweets, especially about the invitation to Netanyahu by John Boehner, whatever, you'll see that there's some pretty vicious. It's a vicious situation. Now, what's more, and again, you have to keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper. So, when you look at One Voice International, which is OVI, obviously the acronym, this is based in New York City. Their contention is that a large centrist mainstream of average citizens on each side favor a negotiated two-state solution, which would allow Israel and Palestine, notice the words here, to live in peace side by side. And they're advocates of the 1967 borders as the basis for the boundaries of an independent, economically viable state of Palestine. Further, and this is where it gets even more interesting in my view, one of the key individuals in One Voice International, the One Voice movement, which is a project of the Peaceworks Foundation. A key individual is a guy by the name of Faisal Abdul Rauf. Now, who is that guy? Is that name ringing any bells? Perhaps it should. Faisal Abdul Rauf is the New York City imam. He was first associated with the proposed construction of the Ground Zero Mosque. Remember that back in 03, 04, 05, whenever that was, back about 10 years ago? He said that, and he was extremely, he said that the United States policies acted as an accessory to the crime of 9/11. He stated that in the most direct sense, Osama bin Laden is made in the USA. Now, you can't really argue that fact. However, he also conducted post-9/11 enforcedness sensitivity training for the FBI. And he contends, and this is perhaps right now the biggest issue, he contends that the American political structure is Sharia compliant. Now, if you look at this guy, born in Kuwait back in 1948, he's the imam of the New York City Mosque. He was he was educated and holds a bachelor's degree in physics. Joe, you want to guess where from? Columbia University. I didn't even give you a chance to guess. Okay. It seems like, are we seeing a pattern here?
Nope.
No, of course not.
I'm not seeing anything, but
well,
it's been a long day.
Yeah, it has.
No,
believe me. Folks, Joe and I were in the same vehicle at 7 o'clock this morning, so
yeah,
it tells you how long
day.
after just a few hours of sleep. And anyway, so a key man to this One Voice International, the team that Obama and Obama's State Department not just sent to Israel to oust Netanyahu, but funded by the United States Department of State through grants. Again, One Voice International. Here's the head of the New York City Mosque and the initiative for the Ground Zero Mosque. And of course, we're looking at One Voice International. Once again, a project of the Peaceworks Foundation. If you follow the money, this is where it gets really interesting as well. One Voice International, they're funded by a host of other foundations and corporations. I mean, it's like it's like looking down at a colander of spaghetti when you just start trying to follow the money. Funded by foundations, corporations, individuals, and governments. You've got Israeli, Palestinians, and international corporations funding this. Even American partners, as One Voice calls them, are the Association of British Muslims for a Secular Democracy, the Christian Muslim Forum, the Ford Foundation, Google, that's right, Google, the noun, it's never a verb, the New Israel Fund, Righteous Persons Foundation. Don't these sound so innocuous? And of course, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. And let's not forget the U.S. Department of State, the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. You know that printer you use? Perhaps the typewriter you still use? And the CEO of the One Voice Movement Foundation, Mark Ginsburg. Boy, he's been active in political campaigns forever. He served prominent Democrats, including Carter, Jimmy Carter, that is. So he goes back a way. Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and Kerry, John Kerry, who, without coincidence, of course, is U.S. Secretary of State. So follow the money, and let's see what where this all this leads. And I think what we're seeing here is that when we look at this again from a few steps back, you're looking at a heavily funded Islamic organization, or an organization with heavy Islamic ties into this into OVI. And the State Department is actually behind all if not most of this, as is Obama. Byrd, the head of OVI as well, the organization, Jeremy Byrd. Now, don't forget, folks, he launched back in 2013 an initiative called Battleground Texas that sought to transform the traditionally Republican Lone Star State into a Democratic stronghold by expanding the electorate, by registering more voters, and equally important, mobilizing Texans who are already registered but have not been engaged in voting. But the other thing he did, or this organization did through Battleground Texas, arguably, and it's been reported and alleged that they were taking non-registered Hispanic Mexicans to the polls. This is a man closely intertwined with Barack Hussein Obama or Barry Soetoro. So now think about what I just said there. Busing Hispanics and people of questionable registration to the polls. This has been reported by various news agencies. Well, maybe on the back pages of some newspapers. But what happened in Israel today or within the last 24 hours at the polls? They are busing Arabs into the polls. Does it sound like a template?
Well, during his speech, apparently, Netanyahu warned about the Israeli Arab voters being brought to polling booths by Victory 2015.
Right.
Which
is working in tandem with OVI.
Yeah, V15 is organized by Jeremy Bird, who was Obama's national campaign field director in 2012.
And again, Jeremy Bird, Battleground Texas, OVI, One Voice International, same person, same groups. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
You know, at the same time, who knows what's going on? I was hearing today on, I don't know if you were in the car. We weren't listening to Fox News. That was satellite radio, and they were talking about Saudi Arabia and a few other countries in the Middle East were terrified of, and Israel with the other. I don't even know who was running against Netanyahu, but the fact of nuclear powered Iran was worrisome to these countries, and they said that Saudi money was flowing in to help Netanyahu, as well as another country. I don't know if it was Jordan
to help Netanyahu, or
yes, because of the Iranian situation.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. And you can see how convoluted this is with all of these groups helping other groups, and it seems like some of these friends shouldn't be friends. But when you start looking at the bigger picture, we know that the globalists, the people behind the power, the faces of power, they fund both sides to ensure their own personal victory. Anyway, Peaceworks figures prominently into this as well when you look at the OVI, which is One Voice International. It's a project of the Peaceworks Foundation. And Peaceworks, of course, if you go to Peaceworks, or if you understand what who they are, the team there, you'll see and just a lot of people that are associated with many of the other NGOs. There's an incestuous relationship, I suppose, is the best way to say it. It's like they're all intertwined, and they all have the same mission, I suppose, when it comes right down to it. And it's coexistence. Now, it sounds good, but when I say coexistence, I'm talking about acquiescing or subjugating your sovereignty for the collective good, collectivism. And if you read, for example, the mission statement of Peaceworks, Peaceworks is guided by the theory of economic cooperation, which talks about mutually beneficial economic initiatives that can create good relations between rivaling people in the same way that, business partners anywhere profit from cooperation in today's marketplace. In other words, what they're saying is, let's work together for the bigger goal, the commercial cooperation, the regional participation, the interaction and such, for a one world result. Very, very interesting, and this is extremely deep, and you've got just a tremendous amount of foreign funding here of these groups in the United States, just as you had and continue to have foreign funding that's bankrolling the anti-Netanyahu campaign. Once more, I remember the reports. Obama, the foreign funding bankrolls anti-Netanyahu campaign, flies in 5-man Obama team. So, one voice bankrolling the 2015 campaign to defeat Netanyahu. Really? Who's behind that? Jeremy Bird, the Obama campaign's national field director. He actually was running the campaign to oust Netanyahu out of the ground floor of a Tel Aviv office building. So, and you're looking at this incredible spiderweb of incestuous relationships with a common goal. And then I think, what does it say when your funding is from the U.S. State Department? I mean, really?
Anymore? Who knows?
Well,
it's not usually good. It's not usually our money, and the people, powers behind the money, don't really care about the money. They use it as leverage for power.
Right.
They use it as leverage for the control of the agenda and the people who carry it out.
Well, and I'll ask this question, because I think we have to ask this question. What is the United States Department of State doing, providing funding to groups to interfere overtly out in the open in other countries' elections? We know that the CIA is the covert arm, in many cases, of the U.S. Department of State to unseat and overthrow various other power bases throughout the world. But now this is overt, and you've got the Peaceworks Foundation that I mentioned, a recipient of State Department funding, a very key financial backer of this One Voice, or OVI. Let's not forget that they came under scrutiny just last month in the aftermath of a congressional letter suggesting that Peaceworks themselves, in their efforts to help OVI unseat Netanyahu in Israel, could be in violation of U.S. tax law.
Yeah, definitely violating.
You know what the crazy thing is? Peaceworks Foundation is a 501c3. Oh man, so imagine, just imagine. Well, you don't have to imagine. I just kind of laid it all out there for you. The funders or partners, look at them. I mean, British Muslims for a Secular Democracy, Christian Muslim Forum, the Ford Foundation, Google, Rockefeller, U.S. State Department. Oh, man, are we in trouble? So, what do you think, folks? I mean, what do you think about the elections in Israel? Do you think Bibi's going to, has it been mission accomplished for Netanyahu? Do you think he will have another term, or will, in fact, there be some sort of upset? Or does it matter? What does biblical prophecy, Joe, say about this? Do we know?
About
Well, I mean, how could we overlay, maybe a better question is, how can we overlay biblical prophecy as it stands today with the elections in Israel?
I don't know about the elections. I do know...
Or leadership of Israel.
That, Israel is a nation again, and has not been, from the last, 70 years now? Before that, it was 1,900 years almost, 1,800 years.
A long time, obviously, yes.
But it's just the fact of them being a nation again.
Okay.
And, we read in the Bible where it says that they, will be called together again. And we see that, what I see more importantly than the elections is all the different things going on with the sun and the moon and these blood moons, the super moons, the things, the eclipse, and these things that we have now coming, if there was going to be cause for concern or looking into the Bible, I'm not sure that it really it talks about, and anybody can call in hour number 3 and explain this to us if you do have insight.
And what
it
the
talks
overlay
about,
is,
you know, the nation and what the people want, and the Lord, you know, turning the people over to what they really want, even at their own demise and at times. But you know, it all works for his greater plan, which we don't always see or don't see often when we're going through, you know, each situation, isolated situation. But when you put them all together as a whole, you can see a bigger picture coming to fruition. And we're going to have to ask Stan when he comes on. It's interesting. A lot of the news stories today, I got to get Stan's take on. One of them is Europe braces for unprecedented power issues from the solar eclipse.
There you go. There's some more stuff.
They're saying that there's a risk. Europe's power operators are bracing for potential disruption from the solar eclipse expected Friday, which will knock out almost all solar-generated electricity in an unprecedented test for the network. The risk of an incident cannot be completely ruled out, the European Network of Transmission System Operators for Electricity said, as 100 times more power is generated from the sun now than during the last eclipse in 1999. This is what they go on to say in this article. You know, we talk about with Stan about the sun getting bigger or brighter, and we know we are going through a solar cycle now, the solar max. But where do they get these numbers that it's 100 times more power than generated from the sun than in 1999? How does that happen?
Well,
that's a question I got. Like I said, a lot of these are questions for Stan. You saw the article earlier, the thousands of snow geese that fell dead in Idaho.
Yes, yes. Yeah, folks, did you see that that story?
Yeah, thousands of snow geese fall dead in Idaho. They blame avian chlorea is the suspected reason for the death of 2,000 snow geese that fell dead from the sky in Idaho while migrating to nesting grounds on the northern coast.
I'm going to tell you, you can't blame. There's something going on.
This is
something more than that.
They're claiming they have not. They said they'll have to await the results from the state wildlife lab to confirm the birds died of this highly contagious disease.
Well,
but this is what they guess, as they say the birds just the way they died. He said they basically fell out of the sky.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you mispronounced that. It's avian cholera.
What did I say? Avian chlorea.
Yeah. You better
cholera.
Get some sleep tonight. Yeah. Wow. The one thing that caught my attention about this is, I mean, you're talking about well over 2,000 snow geese just flying and bang falling dead. Now I remember being on Pastor Paul Begley's show and talking about the fish deaths, and we saw these in wholesale numbers. I mean, staggering numbers. The animal deaths. And in fact, Paul Begley was interviewed by many of the major networks, and he was talking about this fitting prophecy. But now you've got these, you've got the Idaho Department of Fish and Game workers saying, "Hey, these birds just fell from the sky." Now, as you pointed out, biologists are awaiting results from a state wildlife lab to confirm the birds died of cholera. This, as you point out, the very contagious disease that's caused by a bacteria that can survive in soil and water for up to 4 months. Now, having said that, you're talking about Idaho. Were the weather conditions there, and in consideration that these are snow geese, could that have allowed for the really a fertile environment for avian cholera to exist in the soil? And what risk does this pose to humans contacting the disease? Because, well, they admit that there's a small risk, but there's a the more immediate threat is to wildlife in the vicinity of the contaminated dead birds. So what happens if other birds, feast on the carcasses of the dead birds or other animals?
Well, they talked about that. They said that there was 20-some bald eagles spotted feasting on the carcasses of the dead animals, and that they're not sure, where these birds went and if they'll turn up dead somewhere else. In other unrelated news, and something else we got to get in, talk about with Stan. Apparently, we're getting hit with the hardest geomagnetic storm in the last 10 years.
In addition to the solar storm, or is
Same
this
difference.
Same thing?
Yeah. A geomagnetic storm that government scientists rate as severe hit the planet starting Tuesday morning. The storm, rated as a G4 on NOAA scale, which tops out at a G5, is the strongest storm that has happened in this current solar cycle, which lasts about 11 years. Space Weather Prediction Center says the storm is from sun activity that started on the 15th of March. Two magnetic eruptions occurred in quick succession. They combined with one larger eruption before intersecting the Earth's orbit on Tuesday. They say the storm that arrived about 10 a.m. Eastern Time was stronger than predicted and could last 24 to 36 hours. It warned that there could be possible widespread voltage control problems at power systems, and some protective systems could trip out key assets from the grid, but that appeared not to be happening as of yet. We are not receiving reports of abnormalities or disconnects on the power grid, that from NOAA on Tuesday afternoon today, but it warned that satellites, navigation systems, and other low-frequency radio navigation could be disrupted. Also, on the positive side, the auroras can be seen as far south as California tonight. Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Alaska, even parts of Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Oregon can see them tonight. Which, we actually have clear skies out here. So tonight or today we do, and I think last time I looked, about an hour before showtime, they were still clear. So that means by the time we leave the studio tonight, we could have some northern lights or some auroras.
Interesting.
Anybody out there that is in the northern area and sees these, grab some pictures if you can.
Yesterday, changing gears again, yesterday we were talking about Putin, his vanishing act for, 12 days or almost 2 weeks. And
there's still some people that are saying that he's still in the wind.
Wow.
There's been no social media updates. Only that one appearance with his conducting a military, those military drills, or having a meeting with his administration.
Well, but I think if we expand on this, and I think that we need to, is let's stipulate for a moment among ourselves that Putin is back, all right? Because I think the evidence, the preponderance of evidence, being a legal phrase, I do believe would suggest that Putin is back. What does that mean to us? Where was he in the talk about a nuclear, his nuke talks? Remember we spoke yesterday about the line of U.S. NATO troops basically forming this ring, or encircling Russia, but forming a line, and then the NATO exercises and such. Where does this all leave us? Well, we're looking at the formation of a new world order. Remember the Arab Spring? That was a orchestrated revolution. It was an orchestrated, planned takedown of various countries. It was part of this, and this continues to be, the establishment of a global caliphate. Turkey plays an important role in this as well, and I think that we're going to see Turkey moving out of NATO, away from the NATO, and into Russian arms strategically. Syria, of course, is still the focal point of a lot of the activities in the Middle East. And we have created through when I say we, I'm talking about the U.S. and Western intelligence agencies fighting a proxy war and funding and training the anti-Assad rebels and having, through Benghazi, through Libya, having funneled weapons into Syria. We've created 11 million, the latest reports, 11 million refugees from Syria. And we're talking about people like you and I, people that are forced out of their homes and out of their businesses from this uprising. But what we're seeing here in the larger sense is the infrastructure for this new global order, the new world order, completed. Everything that we're seeing take place now is working in concert domestically as well as internationally. Our military is being stretched out to the point of breaking the Cloward-Piven strategy. You can think of it that way. We are facing economic problems. We are facing more riots and civil wars. Ferguson is not over. Although people want to believe it is. Civil unrest. Are we not beginning to see just that default in collapse of the euro? We're starting to see it.
Mm-hmm.
The Germany. And this is something, folks. Now, you might consider this conspiracy nonsense. But think about this for a moment. Who's running Germany, the most important European economy? Angela Merkel. Who is Angela Merkel? Did she ever, before becoming chancellor, did she ever own a business, run a business? Did she? What are her bona fides? She has none. Well, where did she come from? Who is she? If you look into her background, it's a very mysterious background. She grew up, actually, in East Berlin. When I say mysterious, her meteoric rise is much like that of Obama, and I think could be compared to Obama. But there are some out there who contend, and this is where it gets wildly conspiratorial. Get ready, because this is, if nothing else, this is interesting, and it relates to the Illuminati as it stands, and it does have some relevance to the cover of The Economist and other things. But some believe, and there are people who will contend that Angela Merkel is actually the daughter. You ready for this? Of Adolf Hitler. That's right. Through the sister of Eva Braun. You have to follow the lineage. Did Hitler have sex with Eva Braun's sister? No. However, as leader of the Third Reich in Germany, Hitler had his essence, shall we say, frozen. And Eva Braun's sister was inseminated with that essence, and bang, we saw Eva Braun, or onto the stage comes Eva Braun. But that aside, look at Operation Atlantic Resolve. Look at us putting troops and tanks and everything else, drawing a line via NATO against Russia. Putin then disappears, or in the midst of all this disappears, comes back, starts talking tough, and saying that he wants to take the Ukraine. We'll be taking the Ukraine. The caliphate is pushing. Syria is arguably in a very tenuous position. Turkey as well. And Turkey is important, of course, for many reasons. Formerly Constantinople, very important, iconic in the religious sense. Christians, look at what's taking place. Look at the destabilization. really Moscow. Russia is actually destabilizing Europe in response to what we're doing in the Middle East. All of this is working together. And meanwhile, ISIS is the other side of the coin. It's a driving force steering the world closer to the edge of war. Russia as well. The United States poking Russia. So you've got all of this going on. And of course, the wild rumors about Putin's being AWOL. And I mean, you're talking everything from Putin's love child to a coup and so on. Did we notice that when he was AWOL, the state-run media in Russia released a documentary saying that Russia was ready to go full-on nuclear if needed? Folks, that was a message to the United States. So anyway, there are multiple storms forming that have formed and intensifying with Russia, in the Middle East with ISIS. And just to make it one more step, ISIS, or shall I say the Western-funded and created and maintained Islamic threat, is here in the United States, and they're infiltrated all throughout the Western world. And yes, they will enter a war footing. They will attack. Does that mean that it's purely an Islamic threat? No. No, that means that it is an orchestrated type of operation. So we have to be prepared for all of this, I believe. I think we're being marched into an apocalypse. I think we're in a literal countdown to the apocalypse. I think ISIS is going to hit something very, very important and iconic very soon. Remember, they want to go after Rome. And if you follow Tom Horn, what has Tom Horn said about the Pope? Have you been following Tom Horn recently? Have you seen any of his notations about the Pope, the papacy? I'm telling you right now, the way it looks, the Pope himself, it believes that he's part of prophecy, and he may be taken out. Joe, did you see any of this?
No.
I'm telling you right now, it's a lot of what, and we had the opportunity to interview Chris Putnam in Orlando, Florida, and we were talking about the Pope, the papacy, and so on. But right now, we're Tom Horn has been talking about the Pope perhaps not saying that he's not going to survive what's coming, predicting his own death.
Yeah, I do remember Chris mentioning that. In other church news and religion news, we're going to bring Chance on here in just a second.
From American Survival Wholesale. Yep.
Yeah, he's got a new 777 pack, and he wants to explain that to listeners because it's really a helpful tool for listeners with any budget, any budget, he said earlier. So he'll be calling in a second, and I'll bring him on as soon as he does. But this came out just a few hours ago. U.S. Presbyterian Church close to accepting same-sex marriages. The U.S. Presbyterian Church was close on Tuesday to approving a change in their wording of its constitution to include same-sex marriage, a move which threatens to further splinter one of the largest UN mainline Protestant denominations. The regional 171 presbyteries, or local leadership bodies of the church, have been voting on whether to change the wording to call marriage a contract between a man and a woman to being between two people, traditionally a man and a woman. The definition under debate is contained in the Louisville, Kentucky-based Church Book of Order, part of its constitution. The change requires a simple majority of 86 votes. And only one more vote is needed, according to the Presbyterian Lay Committee, a conservative group which opposes the change. The vote could come by Tuesday night. Very telling of the times that we live in.
Well, I just got an email from Billy from West Texas. I didn't even know that was I'm not sure if that's a city or not. Asking about the comments about the Pope. Tom Horn said this, and this appeared on WorldNet Daily yesterday, I believe it was. The comments by Pope Francis regarding possible assassination or retirement, and that he may not be the pontiff much longer, make me wonder if he is a believer in his role as the last pope, or Pope number 112, in the prophecy of the popes, which speaks of the destruction of Rome. St. Malachi's prophecy of the popes is said to be based on the prophetic, or his prophetic vision of 112 popes, beginning with Pope Clementine II. Now, Clementine II died in 1144. Malachi presented this, and some people pronounce it Malachi, St. Malachi, St. Malachi, presented this description of each pope. If you folks, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It culminating with the final pope, Peter the Roman, whose reign would end with the destruction of Rome and judgment. So, with ISIS saying that they're going to attack, destroy Rome, isn't it interesting that you've got this Jesuit pope now? And again, we must understand this is a Jesuit pope saying, "Hey, man, you know what? I might not be around." In fact, the Pope unleashed an international frenzy of speculation when he said this. He said, "I have a feeling my pontificate will be brief. It's a vague feeling I have that the Lord chose me for a short mission." Isn't that interesting? So how does that play out with what we're seeing? ISIS has vowed to conquer Rome here within the next 5 years. They've called for an alliance with the with all other groups that you can think of to conquer Rome, to further its objectives. Spain is in its crosshairs in its vision of the restored caliphate. So Francis, as Pope, seems to be aware of the danger of ISIS. But he was talking about the danger of an assassination, talking about his life or death, as well as all of ours, is in God's hands. But again, he made vague references, veiled references to his papacy, his pontificate being a brief.
Yeah.
So, all right, there you go.
I want to say thank you to Joe from the UK, sending us. She said, "You guys must be very tired from your travels, and just sending some spiritual strength to lift your hearts up and for you guys to keep fighting."
Thank you.
From the UK. Thank you, Joe. And Chance, I do not see him on the switchboard here. Let me do a quick run through.
Yeah, Chance is going to come on. American Survival Wholesale is a partner of ours, and they, when I say partner, they're very big supporter of ours, and they support what we're doing, and we like to support them as well. And they've got this, we talk about people not have, yesterday we were talking about people with more month than money, right? Well, we had talked about this, Joe and Chance and I, and the combination, all of us really. And what Chance has done is created something, and he's going to come on to explain this, where it's kind of like you can spread this out over a longer period. For example, you can buy your long-term survival food, and you'll actually be able to spread the payments out, so it's not a big hit.
And you'll be receiving food every month.
That's right. That's right. Because many of our listeners, they're senior citizens, and they're on limited incomes, and even if you're not, you've got to be feeling the effects of what's going on here in the United States, or regardless of where you're at in the world.
Unless you got a printing press.
Well, yeah. 4:00 this morning, I happen to be trying to find the update on a news channel. I think it was Married with Children. I breezed right through it, and what caught my attention, I stopped briefly to take a look at Married. Remember the old sitcom Married with Children? There was a flash of like I don't know, a flash of money on the screen. So I stopped just to see what they were talking about or what the episode was about. And they were talking about making money at Kinko's. It was, and that was a sitcom back in the 90s or something like that. So, unless you've got a printing press or a color copier, I don't know. But anyway, so what we're looking at as well is the economic aspect of things, economic news. I got to tell you this. A lot of people, I've been receiving a lot of emails, people thinking that, saying that they feel that today is different. That the feeling today is different economically, and I just have to agree with that. Got an email from Bill M. saying it just feels different. Something feels much different all of a sudden.
I saw that. And Chance is going to be calling in.
All right.
He's on with us now.
Good.
The owner of American Survival Wholesale. Chance, welcome to the show.
Blessings, gentlemen.
Hey, it's good to have you. Chance, what do you got for us, man? We talked about people on a restricted budget, and we talked about the need for preparation, and you're stepping up to the plate and saying, we're going to fix this, right?
Absolutely. Before we start, guys, do you mind if I lead off into a prayer here?
Let's do
it.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say this is something I just came across. Prayer is the breath, the watchword, the comfort, the strength, and the honor of a Christian. So all those listening, dear God, bless those who are praying with us now. Fill them with your incredible peace. May they feel confident and worthy of your love. Lord, I pray that all those who are listening would grow closer to you each day. Father, please fuel a desire deep within them to seek you in boldness. We pray that you would lead us in life by the example that Christ set. May they face everything with courage and walk with integrity. Lord, we pray for those who are struggling. May you fill them with encouragement. Lord, we pray for wisdom and discernment. And last, Lord, we pray for our watchmen. May they experience joy today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh, thank you for that prayer. Wow.
So Chance, you're coming on to talk about your new 777 pack.
Yeah, so basically, guys, what's been happening over the past 6 or 7 months is we've had many listeners ask us to come up with a pack that would fit their budget. And so we finally put this together. It took quite a while, but we bought a whole truckload of food, and it's called the 777 Easy Pay-As-You-Go Ultimate Food Pack. And what's great about this, the 7 means you get 7 months of GMO freeze-dried food by Thrive. You get 7 different meals every week, 7 fruits, 7 vegetables, proteins, and grains. Now, this pack will be available if you'd like to purchase the entire pack for $777, and you get free shipping. But for those that are on a budget, we've come up with a plan that you may pay in 10 installments, $77 a month. Every month, you will receive a package, and you receive a package for 10 months, and we just charge your card automatically when you tell us to at that time of the month. I want to give you basically an idea of what's in the pack, and you'll see that, here we go, what we're offering, 3,947 total servings. That comes out to 22 cents per serving. You get full gallon-size number 10 cans of broccoli, corn, carrots, cauliflower, chopped onions, green beans, split green peas, mango, cranberries, apples, red seedless grapes, whole strawberries, raspberries, tomato dices, that is a fruit, non-fat milk, real shredded cheese, whole egg powder, chicken slices, red beans, lentils, black beans, a wonderful 9-grain pancake mix. That's one of my favorites. 9-grain cereal, macaroni, hard wheat, pearled barley, cornmeal, white flour, and salt. And
wow.
Do not forget the dessert, delicious passion fruit yogurt bite. So $77 a month. Yep, $77 a month plus shipping. Shipping's normally around $15. It is available as of tonight. And the best thing is, for the first 100 orders, we're going to give you 7 months of water purification at no charge. 7 months of water purification tablets at absolutely no charge.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
that's a great deal.
Water purification tablets. I'm just writing this down here. Okay. So
if you have, for example, water that you don't feel comfortable knowing that maybe this came out of a river, a stream, a lake, it could be tainted. These are purification tablets. They've been used in the military for many, many years, and they're very effective at purifying the water, sterilizing it.
Gotcha. All right. So just to recap this, Chance, 7 months of Thrive products, number 10 cans, seven different meals per week. It comes out to 3,947 servings, 22 cents per serving, $777 spread out over 10 months.
Correct.
Plus shipping. Wow. And for the
free
first
shipping.
100. Oh, okay.
Yeah, free shipping for the. Yeah, if you want to buy the pack all at once, you'll get free shipping on that one-time shipment, and then the first 100 orders will get the free water for purification also for 7 months.
Wow. Okay, that's a great deal. So folks, for those of you who have asked for and pled for something affordable and something coherent. See, the difference is, and chances is why we really love American Survival Wholesale, is because you put this together. It took a lot of thought and a lot of maneuvering to create this package that makes sense. Because I would look at this and just buy kind of in a willy-nilly fashion. But you actually created meals out of this, essentially to allow for 7 different meals, one every day of the week. It's fantastic. Wow. And not only that, for those people on a restricted budget, regardless of if you got more a month than money, or if you're on Social Security or whatever, this is affordable, and you can set up a day where you'll charge the debit, credit card, whatever, on every month. Now, can you cancel, Chance, if you get halfway through?
Yeah, no risk. Absolutely no risk. You can cancel. I hate to sound like a commercial, but you can cancel at any time. Let's say, for example, finances didn't come in when you expected, you can cancel, or you can change the date. We'll work with you.
All right. Well, you can't beat that, folks. That's AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com. And so proud to be a part of your ministry. And folks, it's veteran-owned, Christian-owned. I don't know what more you could possibly do, Chance, in these times, these very perilous times. I don't know what more you could do.
One thing I can offer, though, Doug and Joe, one thing I can offer, and for anyone who's listening out there, if you have a prayer request, please feel free to give us a call anytime. Our number's right there on the website. Give us a call. We will take your prayers to the Lord. As 2 or more to come together, Jesus will be there. So please feel free. Don't be shy. Give us a call, and we would love to hear your prayers and give those to the Lord. Okay?
Indeed. God bless you, Chance. Thank you so much for coming on and explaining that. You did a much better job than we could have ever done, and we just want to say thank you so much. We're going to be putting that up as well, directing you to AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com. Chance, God bless you. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Bless you and yours.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
That was Chance from AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com.
Wow.
Visit AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com to take Chance up on his latest offer, the 777 pack.
How great is that? Huh?
Fantastic. With that, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Stan Deyo on the other side, so stay with us. You're listening to this Tuesday edition, March 17th, 2015, of the Hagmann Hagmann Report. As we are every Tuesday, we're joined by Stan Deyo. His website is standeyo.com. Visit his site, bookmark his site. As we do many times, Stan puts up show images on his site for things that we talk about on our show. Stan, welcome back to the program. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Good to talk to you guys. How are you been over there?
Good, and it's been a while. Did your endeavors television endeavors go well?
Oh, yeah. We filmed 2 episodes plus about a 10, 12-minute intro, and the guys are over in Israel fairly soon, and when they get back, we'll probably in April we'll have the shows up on DirecTV on satellite.
Fantastic. So we can see your we can see your mug on television and watch you and listen to you and learn from you. Then that's good. Those with the satellite and okay.
Oh, it'll be a nice fireside chat with Gary Stearman in their new studios there in Oklahoma City. It was quite interesting. While we were talking the night before we were going to do the filming, we were sitting in his living room, and wham! Something just shook the house straight up and down, bang, like that. It was a Richter 4 earthquake about 5 miles away.
Wow.
In Oklahoma City.
And he looked at me and he looked at his wife and he says, whose idea was it to move here?
Wow. Well, Stan, if we can start off, and hopefully this is okay with you, I just got to get your reaction on what's taking place, the elections in Israel. If you want to just kind of start off with that, your thoughts. I know that Netanyahu has declared victory, but is that, or are we relatively certain that that's the case? And what are your thoughts?
No, actually, we're not. Unless, well, he may know something the rest of us don't behind the scenes, because it's not easy making a government in Israel. I mean, if you get 20% of the popular vote, your party does, that leaves another 80% divided up between about another 24 parties. And you have to meet with those. If you're the majority of that, say like 20% holder, he goes to the others, except his direct opposition, of course. Well, he can do that too, but he goes to the others and he says, hey, look, what will it take to get you to side with me and join my coalition? Let's form a government. Now, they've done this 33 times in Israel. This is this will be the 34th government formed in Israel since 1948. And Netanyahu, at last minute, he pulled a thing and said, look, about 2 days before the election, he said, I am not going to support a Palestinian state, a two-state solution. He gave a number of reasons before, but he said, I'm reversing what I said in 2009, where I would probably support that. I will not any longer do that. So he was garnering the extreme right vote in the hopes of forming a coalition. Now, it could take up to 2 weeks for them to make coalitions, revisit each other and say, okay, I've got this guy on my team, do you want to join, that kind of stuff, until they get an absolute majority. It's probably going to go the way of Netanyahu. I was interested to see that, we've talked about him being a Zionist, which, was neither here nor there really in the scheme of things, but if he's an Illuminist, it's odd that Barack Obama has been trying to shoot him down and hates him. That doesn't make sense. But
right.
Anyway, Netanyahu was against the Oslo Accords for the 7-year peace treaty back in the mid-'90s when that was drafted. So because that was going to call for a two-state solution for the peace treaty. Now, if he gets in, the prevailing wisdom is that the peace talks will flounder, if not stop completely, which means that they'll almost immediately be in a state of war because they're going to have to do something about Iran. Netanyahu's not perfect. I mean, if you're perfectly honest, he's a politician. You can see where, he's made some mistakes and in the past, and if you read online, you can catch those. But for the moment, I think I would prefer him in that position to defend the House of Israel as much as the nation of Israel, because Israel needs a strong leader at this point in time, and not someone that's going to be a tree hugger and say, oh, let's give Palestinians a two-state solution, and let's let them be a couple miles away from the Tel Aviv airport where they can launch missiles on anybody's planes flying in and out, and they can control the economy of Israel that way, blah, blah, blah. You don't want someone in power that can be that weak. Take a lesson from the United States over the last 6 years or so.
True. Okay. But the interesting part.
I don't know who's. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I think that the interesting part of this is the necessity, the requirement to meet with other factions and to really construct a government, which will take some time to do. So I think a lot of people in the West don't realize that aspect of things. Yeah,
to a degree, we had that down in Australia, where you could have, 2, 3, 4 parties, and eventually they kind of polarized into two major, Labor and Liberal parties down there. But in this case, with that many factions, that many parties in Israel, it is a voting nightmare. I thought about myself being in Netanyahu's shoes, and so he goes and he meets with 12 or 13 of the minority parties. He says, okay, what do you want to vote with me? Okay, and what do you want? And then the next one that. So now he's got a list of 12 or 13 other conditions for them to side with him to form a government. That means in any future decisions he makes, he's got to be sure he meets all the criteria that he's agreed to with those guys before he opens his mouth, which, that'd be a hard place to be in.
Yeah, that's true. My goodness. Okay. Well, I wanted to get that out of the way. We've had several listener questions, and that was on my mind as well. So take us wherever you want to go, Stan.
Well, let's see. What about... a couple things. Before I've talked to you about, the Earth having two magnetic north and two magnetic south poles. On the second row, last image on the right of the show images page of my website today, I put up an image, one of many I've been getting out of the European Space Agency, which, boy, the stuff they're releasing, we don't see here at NOAA and NASA on some of this stuff. It's just, I guess, we're not sharing or they're not sharing. I'm not sure who's doing it, but I'm getting a lot of good data from them on the geophysics of the planet. The change in the gravitational field, the change in the magnetic field. And if you look at that picture I've got there at the top, you'll see two dark red spots where those are magnetic poles that they've mapped using 3 satellites that they put into kind of a triangular constellation that they float around the Earth, mapping the magnetic fields everywhere on the Earth. And you see 2 north poles up there. But what you see at the bottom is really a fat south pole that's kind of slushing along and hadn't divided into 2 distinct south poles yet, which agrees with what we've been getting out of NASA, believe it or not, that the North Pole is wobbling, moving twice as fast as the South Pole. And looking at this, I'd say it's probably 2 1/4, 2.5 times faster than the South Pole because they're really spread apart here. So it would behoove people to go over to the ESA, European Space Agency websites and look at some of this stuff because their research is cutting-edge new type data coming in, and they are watching this magnetic field saying, well, it could change within 1,000 years. It can be a surprise. And when I combine this with the theories I've been telling you people about the speed of light varying, at the Big Bang, the speed of light was like 100 million times faster than this now or greater. Well, since last week, I've been researching some papers, other physicists that are, tenured and degreed and, hold chairs at various universities who are writing papers on, the speed of light. And it's changing, it's slowing down. And they put in some very good arguments, one of which I thought of too, which was that the density of space at the Big Bang was just huge, and the light waves, electromagnetic radiation, travel a lot faster than. So when you allow that to take place, where the density of space controls the speed of light. As the Big Bang expands, which it's still doing, then the speed of light slows down because it's got to, the waves have got to be longer and traveling, between the little proton-antiproton pairs that make up what they call the fine structure, or the sea of space, or dark matter, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, when they tell you in modern physics or geology or astronomy, such and such took 1 billion years, or this is going to take 100,000 years since, for Yellowstone to erupt, whenever they're basing it on radioactive decay figures, know that they are way off base, because the speed of light, which affects what's called the fine structure constant of the universe, when the speed of light varies, it varies that too, and it means that it shortens all those times by, in some cases, 100 million times or more. So understand that the biblical history and pre-biblical, pre-Garden of Eden history might be compressed into a period that's no more than 100,000, of our current years, even for the Big Bang to have occurred, which makes a very young universe, very young Earth. And there's a growing number of physicists, cosmologists, who are saying, there might be something to this. Now, if that's true, if we're all correct on this, catastrophic events happen more frequently than people would like to think. We looked at some stuff Holly and I the other day. In fact, she's going to have it in her new book, about the number of significant eruptions of volcanoes since 1855. It's gone up over 250% in a straight line curve on the mean of it. So we're seeing more and more and more of them in the last 50 years, and it's a straight line, trend line in a linear progression that shows that we are seeing a lot more serious, significant volcanoes around the planet. I know some of those are stratovolcanoes. Anyway, I'll take a breath. You can say something now.
Well, that's just interesting. I mean, from what you said about the speed of light, and how light travels to the volcanoes, and the Earth is, without any argument whatsoever, the Earth certainly is changing. We're experiencing a lot of changes here on the planet, and really with the sun and throughout space, and we're seeing a lot of things that can be biblically relevant, I suppose, and match with biblical prophecy. Interesting how this all works out.
Stan,
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to mention, I saw an article here out of Yahoo News from the American Free Press also about Europe bracing for unprecedented solar power issue due to the upcoming solar eclipse. And I don't know if you saw this, I'll post it in the Skype box just in case you haven't seen it. But there was a few things in here that were kind of odd to me. And one, it says that the European power operators are bracing for a potential disruption from the solar eclipse, which will knock out almost all solar-generated electricity in an unprecedented test for the network. And it goes on to say that in 1999, during the last solar eclipse, the sun is 100 times more powerful, or 100 times more power is generated from the sun now than during the last solar eclipse in 1999. Then it gets into March 20th. Now we know this is not only a solar eclipse, but a supermoon and the equinox. And also the stuff happening with CERN. And I see you have, I don't know if this is related, the ripples in our galaxy post you have on the show images page. With what CERN's, let's just deal with the solar eclipse.
I was going to say, CERN, I think,
and
might
all
be
that's happening on March 20th. This culmination of supermoon, solar eclipse, and spring equinox, has something like this happened before? All in one day?
I don't know. I suspect that it would, because when you have orbital situations, they're harmonics, and they repeat their patterns ever so often. Might be 500 years, might be 1,000, might be 10,000, but patterns do repeat, and they'll start to drift off and occur on other days. But I don't know. we've had something like this occur when we had so much dependence on solar power. And as they say, it will be an interesting test of the grid to see if everything holds together when you have a sudden loss of power for all those places depending on that daylight power drain. It'll only be that way for what? Well, it depends on what part of the planet you're on, I guess, but for maybe 30 minutes to an hour as the eclipse occurs. It'll move across, that shadow will move across the Earth, affecting different places. So, I think the worst that could happen at this point with that is that there will be some systems that may trip, alarm circuits and shut things off, or, go to backup batteries or generators, diesel generators or gasoline or something like that during the eclipse. So I'm not too worried about that. However, I have been expecting some power outages in various places since about, probably about 2 o'clock this morning until now, because of a huge coronal mass ejection that was aimed at Earth. It was about a stage 4 out of 5, 5 being big. And you can see on the show images page that the CME caused a brilliant set of aurora up in Alaska, Canada, and those regions. It's one of the most beautiful pictures of aurora I've ever seen. It's just marvelous. And that is because the sun itself is doing, as I keep saying, some very irregular things in this solar cycle, the 24th sunspot cycle. This cycle is having an uncharacteristic but not totally unusual double peak of sunspots, where we had a peak a year and a half ago and then a dip, and then we got a peak going on now, and now it's starting to fall off. But at the same time, we're not having a lot of sunspots. We're having a lot of flares and coronal mass ejections for several weeks. I put this up on the show, took it down today, but showing the flares and how brilliant and big they are, and how fortunate we've been that they weren't aimed at us. If we took a direct hit from some of these, we'd be in serious trouble, whatever part of the planet was affected by it most on the sun side. You'll see on the second row of the pictures that show images there on the first picture, you'll see the spike that occurred when the magnetic shock wave from the CME hit the Earth's magnetic field. It's that big spike right there, and it rang after that, bang, 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 causing, I'm sure some minor power outages here and there, and I guess we'll hear about that later. But anyway, I digress. Talking about ripples, I sent Joe, or I will send Joe, a link to it's. Let me just get here. A link to put in the chat room. It's on our show images page, but you have to actually get to that by scrolling down almost second row from the bottom on the left. You'll see a little picture of a planet cut in half with a red core and a green mantle and a blue kind of invisible thing around it. And if you click on that, that'll take you over to my physics discussions, where I talk about the ripple nature of gravity. Okay, and there are movies there. There are close-up, scans or images I've made of the ripple theory and how it works. Understands the gravitational theory, which I think when you see those and then go back to the main show images page for today, third row down, you're seeing that there are articles, talking about they've discovered ripples in the arms of our galaxy. And you'll see that International Business Times has an article. If you click on the wording down beneath that, you'll see the article telling why the Milky Way is 50% bigger than they thought it was, 150,000 light years across rather than 100,000. By the way, if you travel across our solar system from edge to edge, not from outer planet, but from edge to edge of the outer boundaries, what they call the heliopause of our star, it'll take you a year traveling the speed of light just to get across that. And they're now saying the Milky Way is 150,000 times bigger than that across, with ripples in it, like ripples in a pond. And this is so cool to see, because I've been, developing this understanding for some time and putting it into a paper about the spin ripple nature of gravity and how it moves like a fine fluid through particles and in between particles and moves them into organized structures like galaxies or planets or stars and that kind of stuff. Anyway, that whole row there is interesting articles down. You click on the actual titles underneath there. It looks like I've got a picture that doesn't like me there. Anyway, the good part about this is that it's really good support for what I've been saying about if the Earth were to stand still, if somebody were to, magically impact the Earth with an asteroid so big that it at such a velocity it would stop the Earth in its tracks, gravity would not fail us, even though you have to have spin to have gravitational constants or gravitational figures, because on Earth the average atoms are about 1,600 times their diameter apart. So in other words, if an atom was 1 inch in diameter, it would be 1,600 inches away to find the next atom. And in that intervening space, fluid space, proton pairs or whatever we want to call them, can pass through. A lot of them can pass through that space without touching an atom, because to those particles of subspace or fine structure, atoms are widely spaced apart, and you only hit one every 1,600 times, passing through stuff. So as a result, if you stop the atoms, of the planet, bang, put the brakes on, well, okay, it might affect gravity by 1/1600th, because that's all it would be, blocked by that planet's atoms standing still at that point. It's not quite that linear translation, but it would be a lot less. So gravity might be slightly less, but not enough that you'd notice too much of it. And then once you stopped impacting the Earth like that, with whatever caused it to stop or slow down, it would gradually speed back up as the fluid moving past this 1 in 1,600 atoms that it hits, it would start to accelerate the Earth back up to the current speed, and gravity would normalize, at that point. What was I
I'm trying to visualize, Stan. I'm trying to visualize the Earth suddenly stopping in its rotation. And forgive my simplistic, mental framework here. I could just see stuff flying off tables. Okay, I mean our tables just flying against the walls. It kind of like a ship at sea, I suppose. Or wouldn't it be violent? I mean, aside from whatever.
Don't get me wrong. There would be violence, and it depends upon how it's stopped. If it's hit in a manner that doesn't put the brakes on like east-west, but puts the brakes on at an angle to that would cause the Earth's mantle to tilt and do an arcing slowdown, which wouldn't be like instantaneous, but it would certainly be pretty quick. And that, of course, would, like the sunlight, look like it's standing still. I'm sure that we would feel the effects if it were, really quick, and tables would move. But that's from the spin of the planet, not the gravitational field.
Right.
Gravitational field, if it were to stop, you'd go zipping out in space.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. 7 billion cases of whiplash.
And I have a kind of related listener question. Angela in India asked this. She says, just curious to Mr. Deyo's opinion or knowledge of why other planets exist and what are their purposes.
That's an interesting question.
Well, it is. It's a question that really takes a big answer. I'm going to try to make it small here, very quick, but eventually I will be releasing a paper on why this happens. But from the Big Bang, all that energy that the Creator put into that Big Bang splashed out into this kind of very fine particle sea, the fluid that shock waves go out into to create galaxies. And those galaxies spin great heavy massive things, and as they spin in spirals, you can see in the pictures on that show images page, they form spiral waves. And these waves, they create eddies in them, like when you run your hand through the water, there are little back curls that form around your hand as it goes through the water. And these become star systems within the arms of a galaxy. And then within those star systems, there's spin as well, but their spin is more compact. And instead of having radial arms, they have complete circular orbits. And those orbits will be affected by nearby other stars or by some matter crashing through that system, and it will create a shock wave down through the orbiting rings around a star, causing spin to collect matter and form planets. And then, of course, the planets will, sometimes form a moon because they will form eddy currents as well from their spin. Interesting enough, on that subject, the planet Venus spins backwards, the only one of our planets that really does. And it's slowing down. They've noticed, as I predicted, that it's slowing down its spin. And I see it eventually stopping and going around and starting to spin with all the other planets in the direction that we're going around the sun. Because Venus, as I think Velikovsky accurately described, used to be further out in our system and got pushed into the current orbit it's in by some catastrophic event, which may have created the asteroid belt or whatever, but it kicked Venus down into its position where it is now, and it landed upside down, and so the spin was backwards, but now it's normalizing, and pretty soon you'll see it stop and go the other way. I hope that answers the question. I know it's a pretty quick way to answer that, but the proofs of it are really big, really big.
All right. Just scrolling through here, we have a few more questions here. Let me pull this one up. Research in electronic phenomena associated with aerosols is a question here from Keith Johnson. He asks, there's a paper on weather modification by Bernard Vogenut, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It was
Vonnegut.
Yeah, okay.
Is it Vonnegut?
Yeah. He goes in to say that there was a research paper in electronical phenomena associated with aerosols and how that affects weather modification, and it gets into scientific theory and the difference between man's head and the ground, and it's very strange, he says. And I was wondering if Stan could check out the first few pages and give us some insight on this paper written in 1961. Are you familiar with
is it Kurt Vonnegut or another Vonnegut? There's several Vonnegut's in the arena there. What do you have
Bernard.
a URL for that? Bernard. Okay,
Bernard,
can you put that link in there at all? I'll have are we having a break pretty soon, or are we going straight through?
Oh, you know what? We can.
Break.
Yeah. In fact, that
if
might
you do
be
a break,
good
I'll
idea.
have a look at it during the break, and I can answer after that.
All right. Stan, stay right there.
I'm going to email this to you, Stan,
Yeah.
and I'll just forward this right to you. And it's all in the email.
All right. Yeah, because that's definitely worth answering. All right.
Yeah, we'll take a quick
All right,
break.
the Hagmann Report. And thanks for bearing with us. We really appreciate that. I want to just mention, while I can, have you visited Casper.com? Have you gone to HagmannandHagmann.com and clicked on the link to Casper mattress? Oh my goodness! If you folks. Let me tell you something. If you're in the market for a new mattress, or if you just want a better sleep experience, Casper, that's your company. And guys, let me ask you a question. How about flowers for your wife, or better yet, your mom, or your sister, or that special person in your life? Pro Flowers. That's Casper mattress and Pro Flowers, both sponsors of the Hagmann Hagmann Report. Okay, we're back. Stan, I think we sent you perhaps multiple times, I'm not sure, links to the reference that we were talking about. I'm not sure, did you?
Yeah, I had to type that in Skype. I don't know if you got that.
An email and carrier pigeon.
I did, yeah.
Smoke signals. Okay.
Yeah, I studied some of Vonnegut's work years ago in the nature of tornadoes and, particulates in, with silver iodide, and how maybe you could use them as a nucleating agent to seed clouds to stop tornado rotation. There were several guys that I studied back then, but his brother, Kurt Vonnegut, was a novelist, but I kept getting their names confused. But Bernard was the one that I read his papers with Golden, Golden, Doug Golden, I think. Anyway, they were leading lights on atmospheric phenomena involved in the electrical nature of tornadoes and the clouds that produce them. Now, I did get that PDF. It's 35 pages worth of goodie here, and I thank you for that.
He said page 4 is the relevant information was, but I got his email right here.
What'd she say it was? What'd she say?
Page 4. 4.
Page
is
4. It's a
yeah.
black. It's a black.
Sorry, I don't know.
She is teasing, right? Page 4 is just a black page, right?
No, reading the email, no. It was
not according to the email, but I'm just wondering, you know how you can sometimes the pages are not consistent with page numbers.
Yeah, hold on just a second. I see it. Page 4 here. 20,000 volts respect to ground. Yeah.
Nothing like putting you right on the spot there, right?
You speed read equation. It's no problem.
I'm going to tell you, Stan.
They do it in movies all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah. But our listeners, they've got some of those comprehensive questions. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Now, the question relating to this page, what did the listener say again, or ask? What was
about
the question associated?
Weather modification from aerosols and the...
Okay. Research on electrical phenomena associated with aerosols. Okay. Page 4 gets into electric currents in the space of a man's head, question mark. It's a paper on weather modification in aerosols. However, it gets into a scientific theory of the difference between the man's head and the ground. Right. Okay, it's really it's very strange. And he was wondering if you could check out the first few pages, give us some insight. The paper was written, as he said, back in 1961, as you confirmed, and there's a report from 1958 as well, the final report on weather control. In it is an article, The Future. Creepy stuff. Peter Kirby, by the way, I'm not sure if he's still with us. Sounds like would be a good guess. But anyway, a reference made to chemtrails as the new Manhattan Project. Your thoughts on all of that?
Okay, well, first of all, on page 4, the fact that, according to the voltage between, say, the surface of the Earth and the upper atmosphere, there might be a 300,000 volt potential between the two, but the charge is normalized by lightning, cloud to cloud, or cloud to ground, or ground to cloud. The charge on a man's head, at the top of his head, would be about 20,000 volts, only, like 2 meters, say 6 footish from the ground to the top of his head. And what this article is saying is that because of that higher charge on his head, that the aerosols coming out of chemtrails or whatever would have a charge, and that's why they spread out so rapidly and form these clouds. They come out as charged particles, and that could be nothing more than the result of the high pressure at which they're ejected from the aircraft making them, because that pressure shooting the charged particles of metal, powder, or whatever, through those nozzles, the orifice of them, will create charge differentials that will make the particles spread apart. They'll be the same charge, and they'll just rapidly accelerate away from each other. And this could explain why the clouds, spread so quickly out of the aircraft and the chemtrails become clouds. Now, they're saying that when that stuff drops down to the ground eventually, that they're thinking that it might deposit around the man's head quicker than it would anywhere else on his body, which, of course, would be in the area of the nose, the mouth, to breathe it in, and take it in through the eyes. And, basically they're just saying that if they were going to use that to put a charged aerosol down onto people, that it would concentrate on the head simply by the fact that the charge is more concentrated at the top of your body, your head region, than it is at your feet. I don't know, whether that's a great drama or not. I mean, it might mean that the amount deposited at your feet would be less, but even if that weren't a factor, if it were an even distribution of the aerosols around your body, I'm sure that in intake of food and breathing that you would still get adequate supply of whatever they're putting on these charged aerosols. What was the second part of the question, Joe? The other thing, or?
It was about the chemtrails.
Yeah, your thoughts on the chemtrails being the new Manhattan Project. And I think, we've talked about this so much in the past, but perhaps he's a new listener. Joe and I were talking about this today too, Stan, about chemtrails. We were out and about from before sunrise, into sunrise and beyond, and
if we sound confused and tired, it's because
we are. No more than normal. But anyway, are you
the terraforming of this planet?
Yeah.
The way that, I mean, we're putting into context too, everything that CERN's doing. We've been getting a lot of questions and a lot of information about what they have planned from the March 20th through the 23rd, and then through May and June, ramping up their hydrogen collider to there's an article here, humanity or Earth has exceeded 4 out of the 9 limits for hospitable life, scientist claims. I mean, to the water issues we see in California, how much could a aerosolized heavy metal based spray affect not only our breathing air, our drinking water, but the ability to grow crops and the ability to function? I mean, I guess we could just deal with the heavy metal issue.
Well, again, it would depend on which heavy metals. Certain ones are going to be, like if they use beryllium, we would all die of cancer. Beryllium is probably one of the 10 most toxic metals on the Earth. They used to harden steel, Bethlehem steel, with beryllium hardened steel.
I remember that. Yeah,
right.
And they had cancer clusters.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Well, I was experimenting with it, growing artificial emeralds years ago, and I went to throw it away at Texas Instruments because they were the poisons control there in Dallas. They freaked and said, "You've got what? How many ounces?" Oh, no. Well, look, don't touch it. I said, "Well, I haven't. I've been using gloves and stuff, and I've got it in a plastic bag in a container. We'll drive it out here immediately, and we'll meet you and have our toxins disposal unit take it off your hands." When I got there, I opened up the trunk of the car and had everything all wrapped up nice in there, and guys in spacesuits, those antiviral, anti-poison, white suits with, they came strolling out with their breather packs on. Where is it? And I said, "Well, it's in here. I'm standing there with nothing on." They took it, and they took it over to their deep wells over in, where was it, Louisiana or somewhere in that area. It might have even been Tennessee, I'm not sure, but they dispose of such things and radioactive toxins down these deep wells into salt diapirs or salt domes. And I had to laugh, but it was a short-lived laugh. I did get a second round of barocellosis of the lungs, which I took a lot of antihistamines and kept the fluid down, and I passed through the danger point twice. So anyway, if it were beryllium, it would be bad. And, it depends upon the different metals, what they do in combination. Aluminum, if they were using aluminum, that would be bad. Aluminum is quite an unhealthy thing for your general immune response in your body. Too much of that, and you'll get sick from just normal causes, and you'll be more susceptible to pandemics that hit the planet. Anything that compromises your immune system.
I'm really angry, and from a personal perspective, angry about what I'm seeing with respect to Alzheimer's and dementia. Okay, and are we looking at heavy metals being responsible for this primarily, the onset and the significant uptick in incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia? Heavy metals poisoning.
Well, I've read papers to that effect. I've not personally been involved in researching it, but there do seem to be a number of papers supporting that viewpoint. That and primary element mineral distribution in our food chain. We're not replacing what's there, and like overcropping areas and leaching the soil of the minerals we need, which allows certain things to take place in your head. And I mean, dementia is one thing. What's it? Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. The whirling disease for humans. That you can't. If you're getting prions from that, you can't get rid of them in your body, and they're very hard to get rid of when you burn the body. So that kind of stuff, eats your brain away, and there's no repairing that. Well, not with man's science. So we can be angry, but you can also say, look, we're just stupid. We've experimented with things that are so dangerous without really realizing it that we really need to call in the architect of the planet and see how to do everything in harmony, and instead of trying to discover it like blind men feeling our way through what makes the world tick. I can sit back and say, like what Dr. Teller and them, they were experimenting and filed patents on these aerosol dispersal things as an immediate method to start changing the reflectivity of the planet to increase crop growth, protect the people from cancer, from solar radiation and cosmic radiation. All a good thing, on the surface. But the Earth is a very compact, interactive system of all kinds of things that depend on each other. And we didn't know enough at that time to really say, what's going to happen if we do this? Will it work? Will it, cut down cancer? Will it increase our crop production to help feed the world without killing us another way? And it's kind of like hindsight. You'd say, whoops, well, that was stupid. Well, yeah, but if you'd have been there, would you have done the same thing in that urgent situation? So I guess I sit here and kind of try to think about things from that time period and being one of those people and what was in front of me and what decisions I had to make. And so I don't get mad. I just get sad.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the more appropriate response. I look at, people like my father-in-law who's got a diagnosis with Alzheimer's and, progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm frustrated.
I guess you've looked at all the things that they're doing research on to reverse, like Alzheimer's, as opposed to the CJ or,
right,
the brain rotting. If you've looked, I think I saw something here the other day about some progress some of the clinical studies we're making in reversing Alzheimer's with some, I don't know whether it was an intake of a food or whatever, but you might check that out, new developments, because I'm sure I saw it in the news. Google News might be able to tell you just to see the new developments.
I'm telling you, anything that if they said, if somebody came out and said, look, sprinkle some coffee grounds on his forehead and walk around 3 times, I'd do that. Well, anyway, we're getting off the subject. We've been getting so much, Stan, so much talk as well, changing gears and subjects here about CERN. What in the world, Stan? What are they doing with CERN? Help us.
I know the stated objectives of it, but when you look at the cost, the cost of that, just in land acquisition and building those very precise, double circles there, that figure 8 type thing, and it's not like it's running all the time. They do pulse ignition or like pulse acceleration of particles through there. And somebody said to me, "Oh, they're opening up Stargate," and I thought, "Oh no, that's dumb." But then I got to thinking about it. Well, okay. How long does it take to open up a gateway to the lower Earth or the lower parallel universe or to the upper one? If Nimrod, who built the Tower of Babel, was trying to build a Stargate at the top, and with the technology they had back then was going to be able to possibly enter into the heavens, into the next layer where the angels dwell, and so the angels said, look, let's go down and destroy it before it becomes like one of us. He must have got a hold of some technology that they had somehow or another, and was going to put it up on the top of that ziggurat, that Tower of Babel, to get into their universe. I mean, in the Middle East, the old languages, Babel, B-A-B-E-L, means doorway to God. And, if CERN is our equivalent on a very crude scale because it's so big, it might be that, like it or not, they may open up a temporary portal there. However, I doubt that it would work like that unless they had it up off the ground a few hundred feet, maybe 600 or 700 feet, because all of the ancient records show that the gates had to be up high to work to get to the parallel universe around us. I mean, even Ezekiel's chariot appeared up in the sky, a flaming chariot, and then descended and landed and came over to talk to Ezekiel. I know the revelation. John, sorry.
No. I guess with what they're doing, it sounds like, and I think you might have mentioned this before, where when they tested the hydrogen bomb or one of the atomic bombs, they didn't know if they were going to set the atmosphere afire or aflame.
That's right.
And I'm thinking, this can't be good. Here, hold my beer and watch this. So when we're looking at CERN, really, they don't know, right? I mean, no one knows what's going to happen when they get this thing.
Why do they spend that much money trying to find what they call the God particle, the primary, proton, antiproton particle, or whatever? Why is it that important to spend all that time, money, and resources? There's got to be more return expected than just, oh, that's good, we found a particle.
Yeah.
No, there's more to it than that.
Just
follow the money.
Follow the money. Have you done it? And if so, what's your instincts and research telling you, or what's it telling you?
At this point, nothing. I'm just throwing it out there. It's what we need to do is follow the money and see. If I knew, I'd tell you. But that sort of stuff is probably not going to be easy to find.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's hidden. Yeah, it just seems like everything, this confluence of events between CERN and all of the weather anomalies, and whether we believe it has any effect or not, or any type of significance, the tetrad, the blood moons, the eclipses, superimposed over the Jewish feast days, and all of this stuff combined, it just seems like we're really getting overwhelmed by things. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. It's such a confusing mess that people will just start. In fact, if they haven't already, they'll start just kind of getting that glazed look over their eyes and wander through life, kind of ignoring it because it's too hard to figure. Who's up, who's doing what, and what's going to happen tomorrow, and
Yeah.
When it gets down to it, the thing that they're going to be most concerned with is, do I eat today? Do I have shelter today? The biological necessities. And beyond that, everything will be a bonus. But to try to figure it out, I mean, you and I and Joe and others, we sit and bang our heads together and say, well, is it this way? Is it that? Could it be this way? And at the end of the night, you reach for a bottle of beer and say, I don't care. I give up. Too hard.
Yeah, it can be it can be maddening to really keep track of all of this, try to figure it out. But well, hey, but you do a doggone good job of really keeping track of so much. What about did you hear about the cholera with the birds? The
2,000 birds were found dead in Idaho.
Avian flu or what?
Avian cholera, believe it or not.
And this is opinion. They have not received any lab results yet.
Right. But 2,000 birds or geese, just midair.
Yeah, I heard they had a fall.
Yeah, bang.
Midair, they just fell down, right?
Right, and sudden onset apparently of avian cholera. I've never heard of that, but
that doesn't ring true. That doesn't ring true.
Well,
bird falls over. Say again?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, what in the world? The only thing I could think of would be something atmospheric, at least in my view, that would cause a mass of birds in relatively confined area to all take to take a nosedive at once.
Yeah, look, when they're flying, they're breathing rapidly. They might have hit a pocket of some kind of a gas emission that brought them down, and then the fall killed them. Until they get more forensic information back on what killed them, it's going to be hard to be sure. I mean, if they come down with impact trauma to their chest cavities and heads, it'll be like they ran into something solid. Then you've got to think, well, now that's interesting. What was that? What about all these strange booms that we're hearing, getting more and more of them? Are there, I don't know, like, ball lightning, or was it cloudy? Was it not cloudy? Was it a methane gas bubble that came up and got them, and they, couldn't breathe, and they couldn't fly either, and it'd be like a ship in the ocean in the Bermuda Triangle. If you get a sudden onrush of methane gas bubbles under it, it'll sink. So a plane will do the same thing in the air, and maybe the birds suffer the same thing. There's just a lot of what ifs. Without any more data, it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, when you look at this combined with the fish, the deaths of however many fish over the years, and all of, I mean, strange things taking place. That's for sure. But man, my goodness,
it calls out for us having. Sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
So was it you or was it Joe that was about to speak?
No, I was going to just ask you if there was anything that we missed that we haven't covered that you wanted to cover. So it's all
okay.
yours, sir.
Let me just check and see. We got that. No, I think we're pretty good on today's stuff. Yeah, I'm sure that there's probably a lot of people out there thinking, why did he waste time on all that tech speak? But it's kind of what got my attention this week.
Well,
I like
good.
to be proved right.
And I'll tell you, I'll bet you, Stan, I will bet you this, we're going to get more emails about that because our audience is really on the ball with this stuff, and more so than I could ever be. So I'm glad you addressed what you did and how you did. I learned quite a bit, actually. So this is good stuff.
Well, and that's without me being on a camera waving my hands a lot. You see, it's even more clear then. These air pictures.
Well, we really appreciate you taking your time.
Before we get off too far, didn't you go to that conference over in Florida last week?
We did. Yes. Yeah. Was it last week?
How did it go?
Oh yeah, it was. It was good.
Yeah, it was very well. We did all the interviews for the DVD with the presenters. So
right.
we got to meet a lot of the listeners, but we spent a lot of time working behind the scenes, shooting the interviews for the DVD, and we had for our talks we had a roundtable type discussion. Me and my dad and Jerry Robinson and Paul McGuire, and then on Saturday night we talked about the infiltration of the Muslim terrorist camps and what the future holds.
Right.
As it's concerning to ISIS and the terrorists.
And your name came up several times. Many of our listeners have come up to us. Well, no, I got to tell you, nothing but positive and thanking. In fact, well, I won't give their names out, but a couple said they specifically tune in to listen to you. And we can't think of anything better than that. What a compliment that is. So just people love Tuesdays with Stan, and in fact, one woman had Holly's book there. They weren't on sale there, but she had Holly's book in her walking around with it. So. So it's interesting, and she brought it over to show me and said, look, here's Dare to Prepare is the newest edition, and so wanting us to say hello to you as well, you and Holly. So it's good stuff. It was a great conference.
And
that's probably a few of them that were at the Colorado Springs conference last year. That went down to see what the new developments were. So they would have probably met Holly and I there at the table, and. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Are you going to be in Colorado this year?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Prophecy in the News, but I assume they're going to hold one. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
they are. They
are they or
yeah, and I'm from talking with Linda and everything. I was telling them how they invited us to come in August, and it's the first week of August, I believe. And I told them I couldn't wait to be able to meet you. And
oh yeah, that's right. Okay, that's right.
I didn't hear any. No, Stan's not going to be there. He's not invited this year. So
no,
I don't know. We can give.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah,
but, it'll be great.
I don't know. It means I got to find out something to talk about.
Well, you got so much. Anything more? I wanted to ask you this, even off air. Anything more? Excuse me, on the your Garden of Eden presentation. Have you anything more should know about that, or?
Well, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure whether it was when you were at the conference or the week before, we did talk about, finding out about the town of Aden, A-D-E-N, in Yemen.
Right.
And that was another plus, finding that there was a crater there that's the Aden crater, named after Eden, where the locals there in Yemen say that Cain and Abel are buried, and that's just another plus, because we know that you couldn't go back to the Garden of Eden. We were kicked out. But if it was inside of a crater like in Goro, it's why they buried them in a crater, at the mouth of the Great East African Rift there, where the migration pattern of humans is proven by DNA transfer and that kind of stuff all the way down into Yemen. So that was another plus, in the location that I picked. It fits right in. I'm sure we'll find more as time goes on. I've been kind of a little sidetracked on watching this General Qasem Soleimani, and the elections in Israel, of course, directly affect how Israel is going to relate to Iran's General Soleimani, who is in there cleaning house in Iraq, getting rid of ISIS, but at the same time he's got an excuse to have military intelligence gathering in the Golan Heights region. He can get down into there, going into Syria after ISIS and stuff like that. And he has such an elite Iranian military force that I'm sure that if Iran wants to defend themselves against the preemptive Israeli attack, he'll be at the head of the defense movement. And if they're going to make a preemptive against Israel's defense force, he'll be at the head of it. And I'm watching him because, Israel is going to have to be attacked by Arab neighboring countries, according to Scripture in the Old Testament, and they are going to defeat them. The generals, in essence, or the company commanders, what do you want to call them there in Israel, will muster their troops, and they will defeat these Arab armies trying to invade them. And, someone asked me the other day, well, gee, if Soleimani is defeated, and killed there, then that pretty well takes him out of the running for Antichrist. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. This guy runs out in front of his troops without flag jackets on and says, come on, man, let's get them. He leads them now. Suppose he gets a head wound and recovers.
Yeah.
It's lining up. It is lining up. Think about it.
Things are certainly happening fast, and they're happening frequently and at a more rapid pace. As I said last night, you got 6 months of, 10 years ago, you have 6 months worth of news jammed into a week's time, a day's time anymore. And people feel it. We're reading emails and seeing people say, it feels different this time. And with the things going on with the blood moons and the year of the Shemitah, as people are looking into this and that, they are seeing and connecting the dots and seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, in one way, it's exciting. I suppose it's like the Chinese. I hope you live in interesting times. Duck.
Yeah, we'll be in the ground shortly. Well, we'll stand. God bless you, my friend. It's just great to hear your voice. Great to have you. You back. Missed you last week, but it's all for good. So this is great stuff. Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm sorry I missed that, but I just couldn't get back in time to do proper treatment of the show. I landed late that afternoon. First time I've flown since 9/11. It was a rather interesting.
Any TSA problem? Any travel problem?
No. I flew with U.S. Airways, which are merging with American Airlines, and because I have a bullet in my right leg, I try to get more leg room in front of my seat. So I asked them for a special rate on first class up there in that area where you can stretch your foot out or your leg out, and they complied, and so I had a really good seat. And as a result of it being up in first class, they put a little thing on, and the TSA guys, I don't know how they figured this, but they put a check mark on my ticket, said pre-approved. You don't have to go through the take it all offline. And the only thing I had to take off was I took my wallet out, my belt off, and put a little bucket and walked through a thing, and that was it.
Fantastic.
And every stop I made there and back.
I'll tell you what.
So,
well deserving of special VIP treatment, to be sure. So that's good.
Well, I was surprised, but
yeah. Oh, man. Well, cool. I appreciate it, and I'll tell you what.
God bless you and Holly and all the work you guys do, and can't wait to see the TV shows. I don't know. Is there somewhere we can order? Say we don't have the right. Is a satellite TV the right network?
They, if you go to prophecywatchers.com. They have a list on there of the TV stations and the satellite, all the addresses. I think it's channel 326. And if you go to that, as over the next few weeks when they get back from Israel, it'll start appearing there when we're going to be on air. Excuse me. And you can see some of the past interviews they've done on that website as well. And that's if you can't hit it on any of those links, then I assume, I'm not talking out of school, I assume they'll put it on a DVD later. I'm not sure.
Cool. That's good.
Well, awesome. We'll be looking for that. And
again, thank you for nice, I have to tell
you. Wow. I can. I've heard things about the studio. Pretty high tech, huh? Pretty good equipment.
Oh, excellent equipment. They've got, let's see, 1, 2, at least 3. High def cameras on the set, getting different angles and different soundtracks running. And, you come into the thing, you've got marble columns and marble floors. They were able to get this thing at a discount fire sale. And they're still, putting up baffles and getting things ready because it's that new. But now then, you put a sign out there on the front door of the studios and say, filming in progress. And so everybody has to be quiet so that we won't get any background noise until they get the baffles in. But, the walls for the rest of it. But, it's nice. It's a very nice thing and got good props and their technicians there are really, really good boys. Tyler's one of them. And I was impressed. They're going to be able to produce some really good stuff there.
Great.
That's excellent. Excellent to hear.
A little behind the scenes.
And glad you got an opportunity to do that. And like I said, can't wait to be able to see that. And again, thank you for your contribution to the show each and every week, you and Holly. We're praying for you.
No problem.
A lot of listeners are praying for you. And it's been a pleasure, Stan. You take care, and God bless you and Holly. And as I said earlier, keep up the tremendous work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week, Lord willing.
God bless, Stan. Thank you so very much.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye. You too.
Yeah, folks, that was Stan Deyo, StanDeyo.com. Every Tuesday with Stan. It is so great, at least in my view, and Joe, to think that we would listen to him on Art Bell's show, and we at that time he never gave it a thought, any thought that we'd ever have the opportunity.
I was a kid.
Yeah, you were.
That was before I used to go to 8th grade and 9th grade, 7th grade.
And it's so great and I remember listening to Stan and Steve Quill and others with Art Bell and thinking, boy, these guys have some super information, knowledge, and
they still play some of those Art Bell.
Yeah, they do. Some more time. Yep.
Especially here locally on the weekends. And anytime I'm in the car, I keep those things on. I'm looking for them all the time. But let's take a break. We're going to come back with some calls.
Quick break.
661-244-9839. I know I want to mention this because Chance had a problem when he called in. It doesn't say anymore to speak to the host, press 1. So if you're going to call in and you want to talk to us, it'll tell you, thank you for calling. You can now listen to your show. Just press 1 if you want to talk to us, and that'll give us the indicator that you want to chime in. Otherwise, we're seeing you as just callers using the phone to listen, so we're not going to.
That's because our number's unlisted.
661-244-9839 is the number, and we'll be right back and report. We are in our final stretch here on this Tuesday, March 17th, 2015. Before we take calls, I just want to say hello and give our prayers out to the Wilcox family, Robert Wilcox family. It's been brought to our attention that a guy by the name of God's Dog in our chat has passed away, and he's been with us for a while, and it's a very sad, and there is an obituary. His name is Robert Wilcox, and he has they set up a page for questions, an obituary page, and they set up a fund for him and his family. He was a retired U.S. Army veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division, a business owner, and he will be missed, and we just want to send our best wishes and our prayers.
If I can just chime in here, Joe, and just yesterday we were having one of our kitchen table discussions, kind of like I like to describe, where you just sit down and we're all just chatting around the kitchen table where important decisions are made, like a family, and we deal with heavy subjects, don't we? And today I was thinking about this as well. You don't know about tomorrow. You don't know really about your next breath. And every day is a gift. And, think about how your priorities would change if tomorrow you lost someone you loved very close to you. Or if tomorrow...
If you knew you weren't going to be here.
Yeah. Or if there was a diagnosis that was given. And look, I understand we're all in the hands of God. But boy, to be taken from this earth, we're all looking for that one event, aren't we? Or a series of events. We're all looking to be for things to happen. But tonight could be your night. Tomorrow might not be there for any one of us. Please realize that. And when you think about that, do one thing for me. If you're married, give your wife a hug, and if you got a parent that maybe has drifted out of your life, or a sibling or whatever, reach out to that person. You don't want them. You don't want them standing over your coffin and saying, we weren't that close, or my goodness, it's been a long time since I spoke to him or her. You don't want that. You don't want that burden on you if you're the surviving person, and certainly you don't want to place that burden on someone else. So take the high road.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
With that, let's go to the phones. Let's go to area code 774. 774, we're coming to you first. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. What's on your mind tonight? 774? Oh, he dropped off. Call back, we'll bring you back on. We're going to go to area code 587. 587, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Very well. And yourself?
I'm doing very well, thank you. My name is Max. I'm calling from Fort McMurray, Alberta. I've been living here for a year and a half about. This is where all the oil sands come from.
Right. So you're sitting on a sea of oil, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, well, actually, business is slowing down terribly right now because of the low price of oil.
Well, it's I mean, and there's a glut of oil as well, as it's my understanding. I mean, we're running out of places to store the oil, yet we're seeing prices creep back up. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of people have been laid off here in town, but other people don't seem too worried because it kind of goes in waves over the years. So in any case, I was calling you because I listen to your show pretty much every day at work, and I listen to Stan Deyo a lot. And, well, Doug, you talk a lot about how we're being lied to, right, by the media, the education system, and all those things, right?
Right.
I'm sure you wonder, how deep does the lie go really? Like, what would be like a big, big lie that we've been told, and everybody's so set into it that it's so hard to believe that it's a lie? I've come to a lot of discoveries like that over the years, especially since I've become a born-again Christian about 7 years ago. But about 2 months ago, I made two big discoveries that I just felt I wanted to write to you, but tonight I decided to call you guys for the first time because I needed to talk to you about this.
Sure.
The first one that I've discovered is that nuclear bombs are a hoax.
Okay.
They're not real.
Yeah. Now, when you say that, do you mean atom bombs, nuclear bombs, the whole arsenal that they call their nuclear stockpiles from America to no matter what country? Or are you talking about just a different way that they?
Well, you've had Eric John Phelps on your show before, right?
Right.
Yep.
We have. Yep.
Yeah, and Eric John Phelps talks a lot about that on his show, and he maintains that the idea of putting a nuclear bomb on a nuclear missile to shoot it halfway around the world is impossible. And I did some research on that, but I came to realize that it's even bigger than that. There's no such thing as a nuclear bomb. They're not real.
Yeah,
it's all trickery.
I've seen, for example, biglies.org and I think nukelies.com or something.
Yeah.
I've seen those websites, the forums, and I understand the premise.
Right.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Now, we're getting now where I have a problem here. I mean, there's some issues here. There's claims, for example, and I remember this. I can tell you this right now, where, for example, one of the websites I mentioned, and I'm not sure which one, so I'm not going to commit myself, but was talking about it's a creation of the Jews. This lie. Okay, now.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't buy that. No.
Okay, I look at that and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what's the real agenda here? So if you're saying it's a hoax, so explain to me, kind of give me a Cliff Notes version of how this is a hoax.
Well, basically, this is vague because it's a long time ago. I remember reading when I was younger about how the first test that they did involved large amounts of TNT. Because, when they say like a nuclear bomb is 1 megaton, they compare it to 1 ton of, or 1 million ton of TNT, right?
Right. There's a comparison there. Yes. Yep.
Right. So basically the idea is that all the footage that you've seen throughout our lives, that we've all seen, they were not nuclear bombs. They were just large amounts of TNT being blown up, and it was shot in slow motion to make it look big. But if you actually take that very footage and accelerate it twice the speed, it really looks just like a big explosion, but just a regular explosion nonetheless. And also, if you look at photos of Hiroshima and Nagasaki after they had their bomb, and you look at the details of it, it really looks more like they've been firebombed rather than nuked. Because if you compare to the...
Yep. That's one of the premise of the hoax theory is. Yep, I understand that. Okay, it does look like the napalm type of an explosion or a fire, and also cited is the growth of vegetation following the explosion. So,
right. And they keep telling us that if we had a nuclear war, then the Earth would be radioactive for 1,000 years or something like that. They keep hammering this. But you've got people living in those cities right now, and they're fine. Something's wrong here. They're not telling us the truth.
Well, we're gonna. I'll tell you what. Let's leave that to the listeners to do their own research. The only thing I can say is, at this point, we're being lied to so much about so many things. Would it surprise me that the entire premise of the nuclear industry is a hoax? Yeah, it certainly would surprise me. But would it be the fact that there's a lie out there? Look, there's so many deep levels of lies. Who knows? So we'll let the listeners do the research themselves. You said you had more. You had two, actually. What was the other one?
Oh, the other one is much bigger, actually. And
okay.
I don't know if Mr. Deyo is still listening, but he's probably going to flip out, although I'm sure he's heard of it before. But the other thing that I've come to understand and believe, and this one I have the Bible, I can quote you a lot of passages out of the Bible that confirm this, is that we have been lied to about everything concerning modern cosmology. And my main point here is concerning the shape of the Earth. When they tell us that the Earth is a ball that floats in space, spins on its axis at 1,000 miles an hour, yet we don't feel it, and then it hurtles around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. By the way, you talk a lot about numerology, 6 and 7, that's a 13.
That's right.
And we don't feel any of that, and I've come to believe that they're lying to us about that the truth is that, in fact, are you ready, the Earth is flat.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding.
Okay.
You said you had something in Scripture to back that up?
Oh, I got quite a few. I can read a couple for you if you want.
Just one or two of the bigger ones referencing the Earth is flat. Only because I've got to hear this, in terms of how you would equate Scripture with that, with the.
Well, one scripture that I have is 1 Samuel 2:8, and I'll skip ahead a little bit, but it does talk about, for the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and He has set the world upon them. So it talks about the earth having pillars here. Now, a ball doesn't have pillars, but a flat earth that rests on water, because if you read Genesis chapter 1, verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament. By the way, firmament has the word firm in it, but that's for another thing. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So clearly what the Bible is saying here is that there's water below and there's water above. Just like when it says the windows of heaven opened and then it rained for 40 days during the flood.
Interesting.
So there's water below, there's water above, and the earth is on pillars but floating on the water. And if you look at depictions of ancient Hebrew cosmology, the way that the Hebrews wrote the Bible, who read it and practiced it, the way they designed the drawings they made, it clearly describes a flat earth that's also covered by a dome of ice. And that's something even Hollywood is telling us these things in their movies.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Truman Show.
Yeah, exactly.
Our whole reality is a lie. And I want to thank you for calling. We got to get to other callers.
Sure.
But thank you. You know, really, it's
it was
interesting.
A pleasure talking to you.
It was nice talking to you as well.
Can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
About the Flat Earth, I recommend that you check out on YouTube a series of videos called Flat Earth Clues.
Okay.
And they go through all kinds of things about that, and it's really an eye-opener.
Is that the name of a video or a channel?
It's a video. Flat Earth,
Okay.
Flat Earth Clues. There's 9 episodes of 10 minutes. And, the guy leaves his phone number at the end, and I suggest you give him a call and get him on your show. He's been on a few shows yet, and he's really good.
Sir, thank you very much for the call. We're going to move on, but God bless, man. Thanks for.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for the chatting. Right. You know, seriously, Joe, where else? And I mean this with all sincerity. Can we have intellectual discussions that are seemingly on the fringe of everything? But we're dealing with alternative realities here. There's no doubt about it, and people are. We know we're being lied to about many things, many things. So anyway,
absolutely, it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
No,
that's for sure.
You know, it's thinking outside the box, and we all need to think outside the box. Sometimes,
absolutely.
Sometimes the proximity between the box and our thoughts are a little bit, lengthy. But anyway, let's go on.
All right, let's go to area code 516. 516. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Hey, Joe and Doug. I'm not going to say how are you.
No, that's fine.
Listen, yeah.
What's up?
Sorry about the other night with my bad voice there, but when I
did that. How's Long Island? Is it still long?
Yes,
still on Island? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm still on Long Island, Doug. I never got off. Maybe I should have, because I'm not feeling too great now. But anyway, never mind me. I just want to say to you guys, I really do appreciate you guys being there and being there for me with no family and stuff like that. And I just want to give a shout out to a girl who gave me a gift when I was really down with money. And she's not a Catholic. I'm a Catholic. Everybody in the chat. And this is from the old chat. And she gave me something, and I couldn't believe it. And my church hasn't done much for me. You know, I was living in my car for 9 months, and Catholic Church didn't do much for me. But anyway, I wanted to give a shout-out to her. She knows if she's listening. And I wanted to give a shout-out to, I haven't seen him. I just looked at the chat, and it was a Gunslinger 45. And
okay.
I hope he's still around. And I love you, Gunslinger 45. And there was another guy, Dixie, something down in Alabama. He was so nice, a Vietnam vet. Should be about 66 years old. I hope, big guy I heard, John Wayne type. I hope he's still alive. God bless him. Of course, he offered me to come down, and maybe I should have took him up. Alabama sounds like a good state. They got a good damn governor down there. I wish we had something like that up here in New York. And I just want to say also, I'm very, very disappointed at this cardinal and the bishops of this diocese. Well, New York City. When the cardinal died, they had the funeral in St. Patrick's. And I figured, and Governor Cuomo, who was a most pro-abortion governor, unbelievable, and receives Holy Communion, and they give it to him. And this is like, whoa, I mean, they are in charge of the flock. And I remember Joe probably knows the verses where it says that in the end days or something like that, that many will be led astray. And here you have a cardinal, and he knows that this governor is pushing so much for abortion and also homosexuality, and also says somebody like me should get out of New York State. I don't belong here. This is not what New Yorkers are about. And, you know, I had my great-grandfather that fought in the Civil War. I mean, you know, I got heritage here, and he's telling me I don't belong here. Well, you know, sometimes I feel like leaving this damn state. You know, maybe going somewhere else, but I don't know. I got to see. But I just wanted to give a fair shout out and tell how much I never, you know, I'm always saying my stuff, and I just don't have strength to fire and brimstone. But for those bishops and priests, they are going to be held at judgment. You know, more you know, when Christ was crucified, when greater sin has it he who handeth me over to you. I think that was Pontius Pilate, right?
Right.
When Jesus
right.
said that. And right. And that's kind of what I feel. That's kind of what I feel with this cardinal and the bishop. And I don't hate them, but they are definitely not leading the flock. You know, and this Pope, I don't know. I have my suspicions, everything like that. I don't know. What can we do? But, you know, it doesn't look good. I mean, he had a transsexual come to the Vatican. I don't know if you were aware of that. And there was a picture of him standing there with his head down. Now, I can understand that you can feel compassion for the transsexual. All right, he was being put down in Argentina and everything like that, and the Pope invited him to come to Rome, to the Vatican. Now, he comes to the Vatican. Okay, you can have compassion, but he should have said, my son, you must abstain from sin. He has to say you can't do this, just like the homosexuality stuff. You can love them, but you have to, you know, discipline the children. It's the same thing when you discipline your children, right? You got to say, I love you, my child, but you are wrong. You know what I mean, Doug? Am I right?
Right, I do. Yeah. Dave, you're so right. And, you know, whether you're Catholic or not, you still have the church body, the elders of the church body, regardless of their titles, that are leading the great myth in America. If you think back to the early 1980s, for example, when AIDS was repeatedly and constantly almost in the headlines, think about what it did. The homosexual movement in America was devastated. The virus was rampant, hitting communities. Homosexuals knew that the perception that this was a homosexual disease, a gay disease, they called it, it was gaining momentum. And there was this perception that was gaining ground, and I don't want to dominate here, but I feel I need to an extent here, because what we're looking at is a small minority of people, whether you're especially in the case of homosexuality, you've got a group back then of homosexuals decided that they were in need of a propaganda campaign that would change their image, and this is what's happening today. And in fact, I often compare this to Hitler's propaganda campaign, Hitler's methods in approach and in practice. I'll just close with this. Eric Pollard, and I'm not sure how many people recognize that name, the founder of ACT UP. It's a militant homosexual group. Openly admitted, as a matter of fact, that Hitler's Mein Kampf was the model that was used for the group's strategy. They wrote a book, and I'm trying to think, After the Ball, what it's called, and they were talking about overhauling straight America. The bottom line is, it was a 7-point plan, or 7 or 10, I don't know, it was a 9, 10, something like that. But I guess what I'm getting to is this: whether it's Catholicism or Protestant, regardless of the faith, regardless of the sect of their religion, you've got people in power who are misrepresenting. They're propagating myths, and they're really activists. They're not even they're portraying themselves as victims, number one, and number two, anyone who speaks out against whether it be homosexuality or abortion are homophobes, or they're against a woman's right to their own body. So all of this is built on a foundation of lies, but the lies go high up, regardless of whether you're a Catholic or a Protestant. The people in power are perpetuating this.
Right. It's definitely perverted. It's definitely of Satan. It's evil. I mean, you love the person, but you hate the sin. I don't care what anybody says. We're on the same wavelength. I heard you already go crazy and blast, and you're speaking 100% correct. It's really a sin against God. It's horrible. It's horrible. It becomes almost like a disease, a wanting. I was in my car, and I told you I was up at the Vietnam Memorial. I don't know if I mentioned it last time. And these guys are going around just like looking in the car. They're trying, they're pulling up, going around. They're having sex in the grass at the top of the Vietnam Memorial. I mean, these guys are hiding in the bushes and having mad sex and everything. They got the police. They know where they go. They go up there every once in a while. And, I mean, you've got kids going up there and everything. And it's like a sickness. It's a sickness of the devil. And so I don't want to take up much time. I just wanted to fast say, Doug, also, Stan Deyo, I love him. I heard his heart, and he's a great man. I'd love him to be my brother. I had somebody to go and visit. Oh, what a great guy he sounds like. And I could tell people's hearts. And you two guys also, So
thank you.
God bless you all. God bless everybody. And anybody in the chat from previous that I can't remember. I'm not feeling too great right now. So anyway. So
you
thank
care
you
of
for taking
yourself,
my call, Joe. God bless you all.
Take care of yourself.
God bless.
Have a good night.
You too.
Oh, sorry. Cut you off on the last word there, buddy. All right. Let's go to area code 804. 804, we're coming to you now. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
804, you're up.
Don't hear nothing. Are we still there? Let's try this.
Can you hear me now?
We got two 804s.
Remember that commercial?
We're going to 804 again. There we go.
You got somebody else probably, because I hadn't pushed the one, but I can talk.
Now you're on there. Okay, Marie Canese, author of Prepare for Persecution. Good to hear from you.
Well, hello. I was just listening, but I'm always glad to talk to you. Are you guys still on the road, or did you make it home?
We are actually broadcasting from an undisclosed location.
Well, you sound so good. You sound like you're at home. That's amazing.
Well, actually, we are back in the studio at our home base in the studio.
He just likes to be mysterious.
No, that's right. It was a situation where we left early this morning. In fact, we were going to New York, and something had happened where we had to return, and that's so we're here. So it's fine. We're good.
So you've had a long, hard day.
That's right. We have long day, not hard, just long.
Okay. And you were up at 4:00 in the morning before you took off before sunrise, before 7.
Right.
Okay. After an 11 o'clock show, and you have to wind down before going to bed.
Yeah, but you know what? We can sleep when we're dead, right? Well, isn't that? Don't they say that? I'm kidding around, but actually we're doing pretty well. So, what's on your mind? I know that you didn't plan on speaking, but we grabbed you anyway because there were two 804 numbers, and we just figured why not grab you and pull you on air.
Okay. Well, I'm on pins and needles about Netanyahu, so.
Well, we know how you feel. I mean, I know. What are your thoughts, aside from being on the edge of your seat there? What are your thoughts about that? Okay,
first of all, I sure hope he makes it, because I don't think there's anybody else there that I know of that's going to defend that country. It's the old thing of appeasement and being afraid to confront anything, and you think that if you back off and you talk nice to the wolf, that maybe he won't bite you. And that doesn't work. I mean, people tried that with Hitler. It didn't work.
Yeah. And the two-state solution, or the Palestinian state, they've got a Palestinian state. I mean, they were given one, and
right.
Of course, you know history a lot better than I do. So.
Well, the other thing is, when they gave up the West Bank, they sure didn't get peace. They just got terrorists a lot closer to them. So the Palestinians haven't changed. They're not going to behave any different, because that's what the Quran tells them to do, and they've openly stated that they want to destroy Israel. That's one thing. Is I think that's how they get their Mahdi to come back. Part of that is they got to destroy Israel first. Their idea of we call him the Antichrist, but it's their idea of the Savior that's going to come back. It's this 12th Imam. So,
let me ask you this question, because this was about an hour before airtime, and I was just leaving my house, and I was talking to my wife, and we were talking about the elections, and she said, "Well, it looks like Netanyahu won or will win, but all things being equal, if he loses, what does biblical prophecy say about Israel, and how would the elections in 2015 fit into? How would what's going on today fit in with biblical prophecy? That was the genesis of it, or the general aspect of her question.
Actually, there's an excellent book called A Sword on the Land by Bill Randles that you can get on Amazon at Kindle, and he's done tremendous study of this. I haven't read the book, but he's been deeply immersed in this, and he's the things I've read of his have been solid, and I know the man personally. But one thing that has me very concerned is the thing about I'll bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. First, God said that to Abraham, but then Balaam prophesied that over the nation of Israel, and Balaam did not want to bless them. He wanted to curse them because Balak, the king, was going to pay him. It's not only money, it's favor with the king and being a court favorite and all the prestige and everything else that goes with it. He didn't want to bless Israel. He wanted to curse them, and yet he wound up giving this prophetic statement that God's going to bless those who bless Israel and curse those who curse him. And that has not changed. That never got erased, So even if Netanyahu wins, this nation has done everything. Our most official leaders, the president, the secretary of state, our high mucky mucks have done the best thing they can, most effective, to try to unseat him in order to destroy Israel. Their goal is to get this two-state solution, which is basically, if you take away those borders, I've been to Israel, and if they go back to the original borders, it's so skinny you can't defend it.
Right.
And so they're trying to totally, literally destroy the nation. And we are morally guilty of that, even if it doesn't succeed. It's like if you went up to a man and held a gun to his head and pulled the trigger, and the gun failed to fire. Well, the guy didn't get killed, but you are morally guilty of murder, even though it didn't succeed. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I do. But
so I fear for this nation.
But let me ask it this way: would somebody like Herzog usher in the apocalyptic, prophetic, apocalyptic prophecies quicker than a firm Netanyahu win, when Netanyahu says, no, we're not in any way, shape, or form going to entertain a two-state solution? So which would put us on the faster track toward this rush to Armageddon, thinking outside of the box?
The rush to Armageddon? Well, the moment you divide the land, you got the rush to Armageddon. The moment you divide Jerusalem. But you're also going to have Jerusalem will fall. The country won't be totally destroyed. The people will not be totally destroyed, but the nation will fall, and you're going to have a lot of slaughter and rape and mayhem and,
Sure.
And if we have contributed to that by putting this other guy in office, we are accountable for that.
But then again, as you said,
it's a tragedy for them and for us. At some point or other, that's going to happen, but we do not need to be the ones holding the knife.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
And if Netanyahu holds the country together and then it falls in the future, okay, but he's done his part. But if we pull the rug out from under him, it's one thing if it happens naturally. It's another thing if we intervene aggressively and,
Well, I think we've already softened the opposite. Well, we softened the legitimacy, or adversely affected Netanyahu's legitimacy, we as a nation, through the State Department and through the executive branch of this government, and the members of Congress as well. So we're actually catering to the enemies of Israel right now.
I'll tell you one thing. Anytime the Jews get persecuted, Bible-believing Christians get persecuted, and the faster the hyenas and jackals and wolves go running after the Jews, the faster they're going to go after us. So people better get spiritually and emotionally and mentally prepared for persecution, because physical preparation is not enough. It doesn't do you any good to live a little longer and then go insane because of the mental and emotional pressure. And it doesn't do you any good to live longer, even if it's by years, and then wind up going to hell because you get bitter and you refuse to forgive.
No,
We've got
I
to
totally agree.
build up our spiritual and emotional and mental muscles, our forgiveness muscles, our trusting God muscles, those things. People have got to work with that stuff ahead of time. Right. You can't wait till the storm hits. You got to get prepared ahead. I feel such an urgency about that. I'm giving away books at a rate I can't afford. Let me put it that way.
Well,
I'm in trouble because of it.
Yeah, and let me just say, folks, prepare for persecution is one of the best tools that you can read for yourself. If you're going to buy one, buy two at least, or buy three, or buy four. This is a book that I've got on my desk, and the author, of course, is on the line with us right now, Maria Canese. The book itself prepares you for what's coming, but also provides the information you need, scriptural, biblical-based strength for the tough times ahead. And I just want to thank you very much for writing that book. Wow. I mean,
I feel such an urgency. It's a matter of souls. The people. It'll be for some people, it's going to be the difference between breaking, collapsing, compromising, and winding up in hell. You know.
Well, that's right.
We have to prepare ahead of time. And my own family won't read the thing. They have zero interest. And I can't see them standing up under pressure at all. And I don't want other people to be lost. We've got to have the backbone, and it takes time. It takes strength. It's like muscle building, like going to the gym and working out. You don't just miraculously get it overnight. We've got to work with the scriptures and get them in us until they're a living part of us. Engraft the word in us, as the Bible says. So it's a living part of us. Because if we don't, they're going to be mind control. There's going to be all kinds of stuff, chemical stuff. They're doing all kinds of things to weaken us. And the propaganda and everything else, if we're not strong in the Lord and close to Him, close to Him, He's all we've got. There's nothing else we can count on in this world. Absolutely nothing else, including all the prepping in the world. We could get cut off from our preps or have a heart attack. Who knows? There's nothing in the whole world that we can count on except God. And we've got to realize that. We've got our backs to the wall, and He's all we've really got. And if we want something of value, what we need is treasure in heaven, and that means other people making it to heaven because we helped them get there. That's our treasure.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
There is nothing that we can do except the spiritual preparations that so many, put aside for a later day, or, when I'm retired, I can do this or that. Or
I'm tired. It's been a long day. I need to just kick back and relax. And I know the feeling. Mm-hmm. But we've got to do it now, because it's going to be harder later.
And later's not promised. We lost a long-time listener, and he departed from us through a heart attack, and of course it wasn't. This can happen to any one of us at any given time.
Yeah.
So you're right.
And it goes to what you say. It makes it puts it in perspective to close out the show, because we don't have tomorrow, and we only have the Lord in this world to count on, as you said, and He's our only hope.
Yep,
that's right.
Maria,
that's right.
Thank you.
And there's so much at stake. See, for most Americans, heaven and hell and God and the devil are not very real. It's like a two-dimensional thing in a comic strip or something. But their dinner and the Super Bowl and their job, that's real to them. Well, in the third world, it's different. For them, the whole spiritual world is very real, and that's one thing I love about Steve Quayle. It's very real to him.
Exactly.
But for most Americans, with our secular worldview and whatever, it's not very real. Well, it is. It's more real than the ground you're standing on. I mean, what is matter made out of? It's mostly space with electrons and protons, electrons flying around a nucleus. It's mostly empty space. I mean, the spiritual world is more real than this material world. All of this is going to disappear. It says that God holds all things together by the word of his power. If he stopped holding it together, boom, it would all be gone.
Absolutely.
And that's from the galaxies to the atoms.
You're 100% right. Maria, we're at the close of our show. I just want to say thank you so much for your call and for allowing us to pull you onto the show in the manner we did. It was accidental, but I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe it was coincidental or accidental. I believe it was of God, and you've shared you poured your heart out, and thank you for that.
Well, God bless you guys, and folks out there, please pray for these guys and the other watchmen. We get tired, we have other things on our mind, but we got to back them up because they're under a lot of attack, and we need them, and they've got a lot coming against them. So please keep Doug and Joe and their families in your prayers, even the dog, and their homes and equipment, everything. And Steve Quayle and Nathan Leal and all the others, any that you can think of, because they're under a lot of pressure and a lot of subtle ways of trying to pull them down. We got to keep praying for spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for them.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you for that.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Well,
thank you.
God bless you. Thank you so much. All right, that'll do it.
Good night, Maria.
Yes. That'll do it for us
Good
tonight,
night.
folks. Wow. The time went quick on this one. It really did. Joe, it was a good day, and folks,
Tomorrow.
thank you for tuning in tomorrow. Yeah, go ahead.
Ted Brewer is going to join us. This is the Health Month, National Health
Month, and
Awareness Month, National Health Month, and he's going to be coming on tomorrow for 3 hours, and it should be an awesome jam-packed show.
Grab your notebooks and get ready to listen fast, because he's got a lot of, let me just say this: tomorrow night is going to be different than from what you've heard. He's got a lot of information, topical, and going to explain how things all interact and how we're getting.
And I'm looking forward to it. I know you are.
Yep.
And we are at the close of the program, so we will see you then tomorrow, 8 p.m. with Ted Brewer. Until then, stay safe, God bless, and have a great night.